Danielle, yeah, it's a good start. I think it's a great start. A few things that we want to talk about, but definitely a good start. Okay, so let's take a look at your record. Find the assignment to be simple yet challenging. Absolutely. Challenging is an understatement. This is my second go at writing Banana. So you can see that you got much better between the first and second iteration, and you're going to get really good at this quickly. So the difference between this iteration and the iteration due Sunday, again, you're going to see vast improvements. And then moving into next week, where you have another, this time we're going to use a phrase in week two for letter spacing, and you'll find that you're going to get very good very quickly. That's a great thing about this assignment. Okay, but I definitely see inconsistency with letter A. I feel each one has features. Okay, well, we'll talk about all this. So let's go and take a look. I think that's a good start. Okay, the first thing you want to do is make sure that that baseline is perfectly level. So in other words, it needs to be perfectly level based on the picture plane. So that baseline should be level with the bottom of the paper, right? And then once that's level, just make sure your mean line and your cap lines are all perfectly parallel, so that these distances are equal. Once you get those guides, consistency is going to be much easier. Okay, so we take a look at craft, and I think you're doing pretty good. So there's some inconsistencies in the basic color of each letter. Okay, so my recommendation is to press a little bit harder or use a softer lead where you can get darker interior color in those letters. Okay, the shapes themselves are good, but as you said, there are some inconsistencies that we can clearly see, specifically the A. One great tip here is to take a look at counter space when you're determining the accuracy of these letters. So in other words, take a look at that. That's like a teardrop, right? See that? That's like a teardrop. But over here, it's not so much like a teardrop. Over here, it's just a basic oval with a kind of a pointed end. Now, so you definitely want to depict that negative space right there. Same thing with this counter space right here. Just look for shapes. Okay, look for shapes right there. There's a shape, there's a shape, there's a shape. And you want to make sure those shapes are accurate in your depiction of the A. Conversely, we take a look at the uppercase B, and we can see that not bad at all, but again, look at the shapes, right? So not that B is not too bad at all. B looks a little bit short, doesn't it, when we compare it to this? A little bit short in spatial relationships of the width, the height in relationship to the width. So yeah, but not, again, no, not bad at all, not at all. And the ends are, I think, a little bit problematic as well. Specifically this one, I think the second end is better, but this one, it seems like this is a little thicker over here than this. But over here, they seem like they're almost too thick. Okay, so you see what I'm saying? So you really want to get into taking a look at these relationships. One thing you really want to pay attention to is the variable stroke width in this Franklin Gothic typeface. So for example, this stroke width right here is much thinner than it is right here. Conversely, this stroke width right here, where the branch of this end meets this vertical stem, that's much thinner there than the vertical stem itself, right? So you want to depict that in your letter forms. Now let's talk about letter spacing. I think this is what we consider good normal letter spacing, meaning the spaces between letters looks to be identical. Okay, so but basically we don't want them to be identical. We want to adjust the space between letters to make it appear as though the volume between letters is identical. Okay, and now we know that normal letter spacing, which means a consistent throughout, is not going to work because they have different shapes. So for example, if we keep this as wide as this right here, these two curves, as wide as these two straights, this is going to appear to have much more volume between because of all this open space right here, right? So what we would want to do is move these together. Now listen to this general rule for letter spacing for sans serif typeface. The narrowest space is between two curved letter forms. The next most narrow space is between a straight and a curved letter form, and then the widest space would be between two straight letter forms. Okay, and you can see the reasoning why is because you want there to be, you want it to appear as though the volume between letters is consistent between each letter combination. So we have to adjust those letter spaces in order to accommodate for the different shapes of the negative space that falls within the area between those letters. Okay, so that's basically why we letter space. It makes it much easier to read by eliminating any unusual anomalies based on spacing. Okay, so for example, if there was a space right here, that we would tend to read this word as banana. There would be a break there. We would break. It interrupts the reading. It interrupts the cadence of the reading. It impedes retention and understanding. And it's not. It's the most expeditious way to read would be just to follow through. Okay, with no unnecessary breaks caused by unusual letter or word spacing. Okay, I hope that makes sense. All right, so those are what I would like to see. Those comments, those adjustments are what I would like to see for your final iteration. Due Sunday, Danielle. If you have any questions at all, please let me know. I'm in pretty much every day. You won't be waiting for me for a response, so feel free to just shoot me any questions that you might have. All right, Danielle, a fantastic start. Thank you so much for sharing.